Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks Hockey Podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Craig. We're back. Post-Easter.
We are. It's been a while.
Yeah. Did you get lots of chocolate from the Easter Bunny?
The Easter Bunny provided nothing to me, but spoiled the living daylights out of my daughter.
Which, yeah, I guess he's the one to do that. Yeah. Well, off the rails already, but my mom, who listens to this, hi mom, because
Hi, Anna's
she's
mom.
adorable. She usually sends me chocolate from the UK, but she didn't have time this year, so she sent me beer money instead, which I love as well.
I mean, I'm not gonna complain about beer money. What type
No.
of chocolate does she send? Does she send you Cadbury?
I mean, yeah, like Cadbury, it's fine here, but it's a lot better in the UK.
Well, because the Cadbury you're getting here is like it's, was it high fructose corn syrup Cadbury?
Yeah.
It's the cheap sweetener and what have you. I didn't realize like what good Cadbury was like.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
the first trip to the UK, and I'm like, this is chocolate.
Cadbury
I mean, it
buttons.
was.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I live for those.
Yeah, I think long-term listeners probably know that I'm a coffee snob. At one point, I had a summer job working for Rogers Chocolates. They're a high-end like chocolate outfit. Started up in Victoria. They now have stores in most tourist-centric areas. And the summer working for them really changed how I could approach chocolate. Like your mass-produced commercial stuff tasted like wax after being able to tell the difference between good chocolate and bad chocolate. And so, I stuck to the refined stuff because, chocolate snob. And then I go to the UK and Marnie's grandma gives me this, Cadbury, it's like a chocolate, like an actual chocolate stick or something. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like pure chocolate, small little
Like
thing.
dairy milk?
No, it wasn't dairy milk. It was like it was, kind of like how dairy milk is, but it was like chocolate. It was like a small bar of chocolate. Anyhow, it was Cadbury. That's all I know. And so I am being polite. I'll have it because I Cadbury here would be like,
Yeah, it's fine.
run of the mill stuff. It was good.
Yeah.
I was actually very impressed. Yeah, and I commented. I'm like, oh, did you go like to the, the like chocolate shop or something to get these? And no, I went to whatever the grocery store was on her scooter.
Yeah. Well, my friend Jess is actually leaving Vancouver to go back to the UK, so I put together some Canadian treats. And I did include coffee
ketchup
crisp.
chips.
Ketchup Cheetos, which I know Cheetos aren't Canadian, but that was just too weird to turn down.
Hawkins cheesies.
Yeah, I love cheesies. I know she's not a fan, so I didn't bring her those. But Putty's chocolate hedgehogs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Purdy's so hedgehogs are top notch. I'll concede that. I like Purdy's. Purdy's is good.
But you're a Rogers guy.
I'm a Rogers guy, yeah. And just so people are clear, Rogers Chocolates has no relationship to the Rogers brand that's in the telecom space.
Generic name.
Yeah. Charles Rogers did not have kids. Him and his wife opened up the shop, and then it sort of, I don't know if it stayed in like the extended family or what have you, and then like the Rogers family that owns the telecom, it's passed down from kid to kid, so to speak. But no, we're not here to talk about chocolate. We're here to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the Vancouver Goldeneyes, who in the past 2 weeks have done things. I mean, I think my optimism was somewhat misplaced with the Vancouver Goldeneyes, but hey, I'm not going to fault them for that. I feel that first week they did what they could do against two teams that let's be real. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. Didn't sort of go that way. And unfortunately, the way the standings work, and we're going to talk about it, math is still on their side, but that's all there is.
Yeah, technically.
Vancouver Canucks, though, they've continued. Well, I shouldn't say they've continued to lose. They have, but apparently in the final few games of the season, they figured out that fun hockey isn't a bad style to play. So they've been doing some fun things, despite weird shootout choices and the like. So we'll get into that, and then I don't know, other hijinks we'll get into in the course of a show, as we always do. But one thing I do know is we're going to be talking about season tickets. Big news in the Vancouver Canucks space that pertains to this podcast or the history of the show. We'll talk about that. And I actually have a question for you about season tickets as it pertains to the Vancouver Goldeneyes. So all that and more. But first, we need to dive into Rewind. Oh, man. Probably best to start with the Vancouver Canucks, get them out of the way, just to sort of do a quick recap here. So when we last spoke, the return of Torts,
was in the offing.
Of Torts. I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, we'd just seen Torts, and Torts was coming back. But let's see. If I recall, we recorded on the Monday where the Vancouver Canucks lost to the Knights. I believe we talked about that, but anyhow, they did. They came into Colorado. You and I had said that the Vancouver Canucks were going to lose big.
Yeah.
Big happened.
Yeah.
Big happened.
Lots of goals.
8-6 final. When, whatever. The Canucks got a win in Colorado, cool, but they then proceeded to lose against Quinn Hughes and the Minnesota Wild on the Thursday, 5-2. Came home, lost to the Mammoth 7-4, lost to Torts 2-1 because it was all Torts on that Tuesday night. Went down to LA, lost 4-1, and then this past weekend decided fun hockey was to be played. I don't know if it was a matter of, hey, these teams might have a shot, let's try to wreck it for them.
Yeah.
But the Sharks lost 4-3 in a shootout to the Vancouver Canucks, and just tonight the Ducks lost 4-3 to the Canucks in overtime. Did I miss anything there, Anna?
I don't think so. But yeah, it's kind of funny that looking back at these 2 weeks, you can't tell whether the Canucks are fueled on spite or not, because they couldn't beat Torts. They couldn't beat Quinn. But yeah, they could wreck it or potentially wreck it for two California teams. Just to play spoiler there. Who knows? It's just a lot more fun to watch a team playing without inhibition, maybe that's the key, but and obviously it's not every game, but LA Kings play dreadful hockey and they make you play dreadful hockey, so
which isn't too hard with the Vancouver Canucks, let's be honest.
No,
I mean, dreadful is the Adam Foote special.
Power to the LA Kings, they're doing it pretty successfully. But yeah, I do. Obviously, the Wild game was maybe one of those odd ones where they locked up 30-second, but also lost to Quinn, who doesn't know who any of his old teammates are.
Because they all got traded. They all got traded out of town.
Yeah, it was a funny quote. I did want to hear the quote in its totality, and I know the question was more, does playing against your old team benefit you? And he's kind of no, I don't really know them. But the way I read his answers is that he started talking about their game and moved on to the more emotional side, because he was saying, I played against my brothers, I'm kind of used to these weird situations, but I don't know these guys. It just seemed it was poor phrasing.
It was poor phrasing, but he also he had referenced JT. So it's not like Quinn's gone and then all his friends got traded. The fact that he went to a player who was traded before he was almost a full-ish season.
Mm.
It came across to me as Quinn simply saying, the people I cared about aren't there,
Yeah.
so I don't really care.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to place a meaning where it isn't. It's just how it sounded to me. I mean, we now know a lot more based on his commentary since being traded and some of the stuff that's come out. Like you and I were under the standing based on the scuttlebutt that Quinn was a Team Petey guy. Well, no, he was a Team JT. So, like, for a team doing everything in their power to keep Quinn, trading JT, weird choice. But in fairness, maybe the market was there for JT, not for Petey. I mean, again, we
And
don't
maybe
know.
they realized picking JT another time, in a sort of not player feud, but picking
Hmm.
JT was the losing bet.
Yeah.
I will say that, like, I don't blame Quinn at all for wanting to leave. You cannot blame a player of his caliber for not wanting to stay with an organization like the Canucks for the rest of his career. But you still can blame him for his attitude, how checked out he was this entire season, and end of last
Well,
season. And
and
you
he
can.
had a comment about that when that topic was brought up. And he
Hmm.
had said, like, how can you say that? Look at how I played. Like, even in the night before the trade, the game before the trade, how hard I was playing. And you know what? I don't like for me, I don't necessarily suggest he had completely checked out. I think he was giving it his all. Like it was very clear. It was Quinn Hughes throwing the team on his shoulders, and he was just worn down. He didn't have much in the tank. But knowing what we know now, it was very apparent that he had quote unquote checked out. Like he knew he was going somewhere else. Now,
Right.
did that affect the game the way he thinks it did? No. It was clear though, watching on TV, there were things like
The
it's a
attitude
body
was,
language thing,
yeah, attitude was
right?
checked
Like,
out. I'm not meaning to say that he stopped trying, but he
yeah,
was
oh, he
like,
tried every shift.
and I think you can blame him for that, and you can blame him for how he handled the locker room and getting to a point where it did. It's not like he's entirely to blame for the JTPD feud. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, but I just think he didn't do a great job of handling office
Is it his
politics, so
fault?
to speak.
Is it his fault though that he was offered the captaincy and said yes? Like you think about
Uh,
the way hockey is, like if you're offered the captaincy, saying no is considered like sacrilegious regardless of the
well,
circumstances.
I don't know that it is. If you start having the conversation saying, you're one of the leaders in the locker room, one of our best players, is this something you'd be interested in? And you
Well,
look at that hot mess of a locker room and you just say, actually, I'm
no, but
not
that's
sure
the
I'm the
thing is
right guy.
Quinn's a hockey
Because,
guy.
yeah, okay, but like, I can still blame him for how he acted.
Oh, I'm not discounting. Like I don't like looking back. Was he the captain the team needed? No, the captain they needed was Bo, and he was in New York.
Yeah.
It's very clear that when Bo Horvat was traded, the dressing room just there was a schism, maybe
Yeah.
multiple. And when Quinn Hughes became captain, there wasn't a quote unquote rallying of the room into that culture. From what it sounds like, JT Miller got to have his say, whether he deserved to have that say or not. PD did PD, and you had sort of these camps. It does sound like, you know, we talked about in a past episode, the moment Vancouver Canucks fans booed the U.S. anthem, the Vancouver Canucks dressing room thinks "Born in the USA" is the best song to be playing at the end of the win. And again,
Again,
hockey players,
what,
not the
what,
most
yeah, not the
broadly minded
smartest
folk, not
also,
realizing,
because
but
what is
that's a
the USA
response.
about? Yeah.
Right, like you got to. That's one, players not understanding their market. Two, not like you're dividing a room, and I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Quinn
we can
Hughes,
litigate this for a long time.
yeah,
Just saying that I
he,
don't think he was a good leader, um, even though he's still one of the best players to ever play for the
oh yeah,
Canucks, and certainly the
yeah,
best
he's
defenseman.
great player, great player. Just I
And
don't
I'm
think he like in retrospect,
glad
it'd be
we got
like
to watch him.
Luongo. Should Luongo have been a captain?
No,
No, he shouldn't
right.
have been. I
But
mean,
Luongo
he could have been
understood
a
the
leader.
market and the culture of the Canucks
Correct.
very well, which
Yeah.
either Quinn never got or he didn't like. create
And
it well
you and
enough.
I, like we
Yeah.
last episode, we sort of talked about how, and I sort of shared, like you look at the story of captains in the Vancouver Canucks market. Quinn lacked that leader to sort of mentor him. Like Bo Horvat could
Yeah.
have been that,
He
but Bo
was.
got traded, and then there was a vacuum.
Oh yeah, big
Uh,
time. I mean, Bo was
and like no
sculpted into
Sedins,
captain. Yeah.
no Linden, like no
Yeah.
long-term Canucks. I mean, like you think
Yeah. He
about
missed out on
anyone
that
who might
big
have been
time.
able to be leveraged in that space, they were all gone.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyhow,
it's true. He didn't have anyone to teach him that. I
yeah.
do agree with that. Mistakes were made all around. But
Um, that,
like,
oh,
just to transition to the current Canucks, like, do you think they are playing with a bit more freedom and or
I think
better
they're having
attitude?
fun.
Yeah.
Like how many times did I say the Vancouver Canucks as a team need to remember what it's like to have fun?
Yeah.
And I've said this in 13, 14, I don't know how many years we've been recording this show. Fun hockey is fun. And you might say, well, yeah, simplicity, it is. But this goes and reinforces how a not so good team can still find ways to have fun, enjoy themselves. And on occasion, fun teams who aren't that good may find a way to win. That's sort of what's happening. You got these younger players who know that, we're getting out there, we're sort of marketing ourselves as to what next season will be like and how we'll fit within the team. I appreciate sort of, one of the things that got brought up on the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast. Chris Pronger, who was there, said it. Kevin Bieksa said it, where the culture is what's most important next season, getting some veterans who can show. But you and I have talked about it. Like, look at San Jose. Tyler Toffoli would have been a great type of player to have in Vancouver. It's amazing. Would have had a chance to have him. But you have a player like Tyler to show the young kids what it's like to be a pro, to do the right things the right way. Vancouver needs that. Maybe that exists. Like I hold out hope that a player like Brock Besser might be able to step up. I'm not sold on Philip Hronek yet. I'm not saying that's not him. It's just there's things that
really no. I just think there's so much more to being a captain than what you show in the room. Maybe he's a much nicer person in the room. He
yeah.
must be than he is with the media, but like that, like the media and the
that's what
fans
it's not so
are
much.
important.
I'm not so much saying the captaincy though. I'm just saying like you have
Yeah.
veterans that can show
And I
like
think
here's what a
Philip Hronek's
pro
really
has to
important
do.
at that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
and that's
don't
to
know
me
if he
that's
should be
what needs
captain.
to be insulated. But that doesn't take away from the fun. You work hard, play hard, enjoy the game. Remember that at the end of the day, you're being paid to play a sport. Now,
Yeah.
I think that's what we're seeing. And it's the whole like, let's wreck it. Like they have something to play for all of a sudden. Like going into Anaheim and San Jose would have been the game where it had the biggest impact. San Jose had a chance. They weren't out after losing to the Canucks. But again, the only thing on their side was math at that point. What the Canucks were able to do was throw that wrench. Congrats. They go into Anaheim, a team who had, if they won, is ahead of Edmonton.
And the
What does
crowd
Vancouver
is
go and do?
loud and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, that must be fun to be like, screw you, we won.
Yeah, could you imagine what it will be like if Vancouver goes into Edmonton and that game matters? Like in past seasons where the Vancouver Canucks have been out, whether it be against Calgary or Edmonton, it would be like 1,000,000-0.
Yeah.
Here's a game where Vancouver could potentially go into Edmonton and wreck things. I
They
think
could
if
kill
there's something to
Connor
play
David.
for, well, I don't want them to kill anyone. Okay.
No, I don't either. I don't know why I said that.
Anyhow, I do want to touch on the Vancouver Goldeneyes. 3 games, 3 losses. The game that impressed me the most, and this is where I feel like if things could have been better earlier on in the season, is the game against the Frost. It was a wild affair. 6-5 final for Minnesota. But like Vancouver carried a 3-2 lead in the first period, tied in the second, and despite 2 special team, or actually I guess it would have been 3 special teams goals from the Frost. Vancouver, made a run of it late and, had Minnesota sort of, in that proverbial squeaky bum time for a spell. This is if that Vancouver had played with that effort earlier in the season, they may not be in the position where they are now, where not quite yet out, but needing everything to go their way. Like if the Ottawa Charge get 2 points, Vancouver's done.
Yeah. I mean, and it's only a
And
matter of time, really. But yeah, that game was.
and that's assuming Vancouver wins out against the Frost and the Fleet.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Easier said than done. Obviously, what was I saying? Yeah, a big game, but even that game where they go toe to toe with Minnesota, it shows the weakness that they've had all season, which is their PK sucks.
Yeah, special team. Well, I mean, both ways. Special teams both ways problematic.
Yes.
Yeah, Sophie Jakes did get a power play goal in that game, but the Vancouver Goldeneyes had some special teams troubles. The PK, I was going to say is a sieve, but didn't have structure. And then the power play, not so much power. And, I think if there were areas that the team needs to focus on going into next season, special teams is one. But I think the other is the cohesiveness of a team, not a series of really good players.
Yeah, and obviously the scoring's a problem. Jake's is, if not the leading scorer, second leading. I'd have to check that, but you can't have a defender being your leading scorer. You can if it's Quinn Hughes, maybe, but
but that's the thing, though, is I get what you're saying, but it's okay to have your defender as your leading scorer as long as there's a bunch of forwards like nipping on their heels.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
wasn't the case here.
Yeah, and it hasn't been. But is it a good first season? Sure, but yeah, obviously that needs to improve. Something that's probably not going to improve is the travel.
Well,
it sucks.
we'll talk about that in half full, half empty. That did get brought up, but there's a lot of variables that we don't have answers for. I mean, the league is going to have expansion. There is going to be player movements, not only as part of an expansion draft, but contracts and retirements. Like Jen Gardner is, not saying she's too old, but she's getting up there.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, she's playing for her hometown team, so as long as she doesn't get expanded out of here, I think she's gonna give it a few more.
But that's the thing is, it's not within the realm of impossibility that she could say, hey,
so much so many unknowns right now with the expansion. Over our heads.
But looking ahead at the week that will be, Vancouver is going to be playing a home and away against the Seattle Torrent. Tuesday, they'll be here in Vancouver, and then on Saturday they head down to Seattle. 2 games against the team that is at the bottom of the standings with them. Vancouver has a point over the Torrent, courtesy of one OTL. But you think Vancouver can get all the points out of this to keep math on their side, maybe?
I think they can, absolutely. I think it might not matter by that point. I think, maybe it'll be out of our hands at that point. I think they'll definitely win on Tuesday. They love playing at home, even against the best team, so, Seattle, they should take care of business, and that could be good. So, I do think they could get all the points, all the chocolates, as Australians would say.
All the chocolates. Okay. Well, then we look ahead at the Vancouver Canucks. So the Vancouver Canucks will be wrapping up their season. They got a couple of games this week. They'll be playing the Los Angeles Kings at home on Tuesday, and they wrap up their regular season against the Edmonton Oilers Thursday night. 2 games. Does it even matter what Vancouver does?
No, I'd like, just for the fans' sake, for them to win at home, because that's the lowest home win total ever, I think, will be.
So I saw a statistic that this season is statistically worse than the Grizzlies' first season, which was horrible. So the Vancouver Grizzlies, NBA franchise who was set up to fail, had a better record than this season's Vancouver Canucks.
I mean, the home record has been terrible. I think Adam Kizenstat was Kizenblatt with his Kizen stats. he was listening to Too Many Men, and his tweet was quoted about that. But I think if they win against Kings, it's either 9 or 10 home wins total, which is just appalling. Like, and we'll get onto this in half full, half empty. But we've talked about this. The experience of Rogers has sucked. I would like to get 2 wins for the reasons of home crowd and screwing the Oilers.
Well, so this is the thing is
both. Yeah.
The Kings aren't, I don't believe, they're not guaranteed. They're only a point up on the Preds right now. So I mean the Kings are in a tough spot. I mean, obviously, I think things play out. Like Kings, I believe, have a game before that. So
so
we'll see.
Where they're
Oilers. Oilers are chasing the Knights. They've got the Ducks just on their heels. Edmonton currently is holding the advantage through tiebreaker. Technically, Anaheim actually hasn't, quote unquote, guaranteed a playoff spot, which is so weird. But that said, Edmonton has. So the Canucks can't wreck the Oilers' playoffs chances, but they could potentially wreck their position within the standings.
Could also be
I feel
incredibly annoying.
Yeah, there's 2 wreck-it games there. I hope the Canucks have the ability to wreck it. I want 2 wins.
I agree.
Look at that. We're optimistic. 2 wins for the Goldeneyes, 2 wins for the Canucks. Ain't been no optimism like this here in a long, long time.
And
there was when the Vancouver Canucks were chasing last overall. I was pretty optimistic about that.
Well, we're talking about the end of the NHL season into the end of the PWHL season. Can I just say it sucks that they still haven't decided on a time for the last game of the PW season, because the NHL season hasn't finished yet. So they can't plan until they have playoffs to plan around, even though...
Oh, so yeah, that last Saturday game is currently TBD. I didn't realize this.
Which... would be annoying anyway, but it's especially annoying when it's like my birthday event and I'm trying to plan my whole day around
that. I mean, Vancouver, it's in Vancouver. So from a competitive stance against the Canucks, who cares?
Yeah.
I get, though, that the Wild will be in the postseason, so...
Yeah, they don't share a building, obviously, but yeah. I mean, I can't imagine the PWHL
right now, the only broadcast
TV
partner
market
is TSN.
Yeah, the PWHL market TV market can't be that strong. It must be not entirely gate driven, but it's YouTube,
only TSN right now.
Yeah, it's YouTube.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. It's FanDuel Sports Network and which is YouTube, and then TSN. So again, I don't know why
they've had a few, and I believe the playoffs are going on broadcast television in the US. Whatever it's called, Iron, which I don't understand what that is, but.
Well, hopefully by the time we record the show next week, there'll be a time for you to talk to.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because the Goldeneyes season will run longer than the Vancouver Canucks. We get to talk about more Goldeneyes next week.
Yeah.
And the week after. Yeah. Anna and I are going to take a short break. You're listening to the C4 Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna, Chris, and Craig.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time, and yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
Let's talk about the Vancouver Goldeneyes challenges first, because the Canucks challenges, which we're going to get into, could probably run for a long time. So one of the things that had come up in a recent press conference with Brian Nadolski was, looking back at the season, any reason as to why it didn't really pan out the way you would wanted, which I'm like, wait, are they out of it now? I was confusing because it felt very much like your chicken has been cooked, and it hadn't. But, one of the things that Brian Nadolski had referred to,
I think it's a
Or goose was
goose.
cooked. Whatever. The point being, there was a bird cooked.
Sorry, go ahead.
Adolsky responds by pointing out that the two teams who have to travel the most because they happen to be on the other side of the continent when compared to the others, Vancouver and Seattle, both struggled quite a bit this season. And I don't discount travel and the impacts as being not a problem. It truly is. I mean,
Hmm.
to look back at the Vancouver Canucks, one of the things that Brian Gillis did when he got involved, and even Brian Burke prior to him, was trying to negotiate with the league to reduce travel impact and package sort of trips and games in such a fashion that allowed for the team to recover.
Hmm.
Don't imagine the Goldeneyes and the Torrent had all that power or sway, but then also the P-Dub season is quite a bit different in that regard.
Yes.
I don't know how you solve that. Like, let's be real, unless they were to expand the league drastically out west.
Yeah,
Which,
and
I mean, if they go with the 4 teams out west, maybe they do, but I
it
don't
would.
think that's what will happen.
No, I think we'd be lucky if we get one out west. I do think it. I would love to see another in Western Canada. Calgary, especially, has that history. It would be great to reward that. But yeah, over like historically, right? It doesn't have the tradition of professional women's hockey. So much as it has existed, it's primarily existed in the Northeast and Eastern Canada, or like eastern side of Canada. Um, yeah, I don't think there's a way to solve it. Like, I think there's probably better planning you can do. I don't think Adolsky was necessarily suggesting that the league had to solve it. But yeah, I mean, this
No, but he
road
was
trip
using it
alone,
like,
it's
yeah,
brutal. Obviously, they won't have the Olympics next year. Maybe that's helpful. Um, but yeah,
that doesn't
it
reduce
is
the
a
travel.
struggle. No, it
No,
just
I
might change the schedule, make it more workable so you don't have road trips that last like,
sure.
you know, 2.5 weeks or
I
whatever they've been away for.
you know I'm of 2 months because when Nadolski was saying he was using it, not to make it an excuse, but this is an excuse. Like this is the thing. Like that's it is what it is. The fact remains, though, is there is really no solution, no easy way to adjust schedule. Like the number of stories you would hear, and I'm not suggesting it's within the PWHL, but within any professional sports space, is teams in the East will play a road game and either bus or train home to be in bed that night.
Yeah,
That
that's the
does not
thing. That's
happen with
not
any
going to
team in the
happen.
West. Yeah, like if even you look down in like with the NHL in California, where you've got Anaheim, LA, and San Jose,
Yeah.
if they're home in bed, that's because their flight happened to get out of Dodge just in time and land. It's still very late. It's still much more disruptive than riding a bus or riding a train.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, you can't, treat Western teams in a special way necessarily. And like you said, like I think it's been a long time since Canucks have had any sway with the schedule. The road trips are always look insane and make no sense. I I guess we'll really have to see what happens with expansion because the problem could get a whole lot harder or
Well, yeah, where the
or
teams
different.
are, yeah. You
But
know,
yeah,
on the
yeah.
on the topic of expansion, though, we still, I mean, I find it strange. We still don't know if it's 1 to 4 teams.
Yeah.
Like that part is weird. I
I
get
believe
that it's
like
still
2
a
is
new
the
league.
minimum, but yeah, it's gonna be 2 or 4 realistically, and we don't know what that looks like at
Yeah,
all. Are they gonna have
no,
the
no,
same
exactly.
rules?
And so is it 4 months between like season to season, practically. So, with the expansion rules, you're right. Like if it's not the same rules, or is it? So who are you protecting? Who's back? Like, another topic of discussion was team chemistry. I mean, it was very apparent to anyone who was watching the Goldeneyes that team chemistry seemed to be lacking. I can't
Yeah.
speak for the Seattle Torrent. I didn't get to see a whole lot of their play, but I would presume there's maybe somewhat of a similar issue there. How disruptive is expansion going to be on these expansion teams? Not only did
Yeah.
they struggle to form that, now they're going to be losing players again. So I do wonder how that all sort of, trickles out. But I am still finding it odd that here we are in April, midway through, with no indication from the league as to sort of what that will look like. I mean, yeah, maybe things can get decided or already have and just haven't been released, but it's just weird.
We are talking about the league, though. Like, as much as I understand that crashing two leagues or two professional organizations into one was never going to be easy, I do feel like the PWHA made it harder than they needed it to be. It didn't seem like the beginning of the PWHL had enough planning going into it. They didn't have team names, they didn't have logos, they didn't really have a plan for that at all. You had a lot of players in the PHF completely left in the lurch. So I do think that is obviously a history of not chaos, I think that's too strong a word, but like not always planning for every eventuality as far in advance as they could. I mean, we ended up having a team name and a logo released like the week after the jerseys, the generic jerseys. Maybe that was on purpose, but it's weird to me.
Well, I mean, having seen what the P-Dub did in its inaugural season, that part didn't seem weird. I sort of expected it. But what is kind of weird was that, well, this is just the way we do it, is we announce the city, they run with the generic sort of way of things, and in the subsequent season is when, the logo and the name starts to appear. But you look at Seattle and Vancouver, and we sort of had this blended experience depending on which jersey they happen to be wearing. Like that, I mean, there was the thing I think maybe you and I have to remind each other is that it is still a new league. Like it's going to iterate sort of on the fly. They have that flexibility. But it's hard as a fan to start to really invest when tomorrow, the 3 players are going to be, guaranteed, and then everyone else is up in the air. Could be drafted, could be not, could be, free agency.
I will say briefly off the rails here, but like cricket is like almost entirely built on, or at least money side is built on franchises. So you have players going around the world, playing for different teams who go to the highest bidder. They might play the same tournament every year, but play on multiple teams. And it seems to work very well in India with the IPL, but I think they have found it's worked less well with other markets who really like having, familiar faces on their local team, and local, like, regional things matter. And sorry to bring this back to the Goldeneyes, but like, I'm sure people are going to call me petty for this, but I really did not like seeing Sarah Nurse and co wearing Oilers jerseys at the Takeover tour. I know her cousin plays on the Oilers. I know they are trying to create a market and excitement in a city that doesn't have a team or doesn't have a close team. But I think where you're from does matter. And I also think like Canucks, like Vancouver fans are the most volatile and online fans you've ever seen. So it just seemed like a dumb choice.
So okay, I am of two minds. So this is actually interesting. I'm glad you brought this up. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, I'm not entirely sure I'd have made that call. Yeah. Now, the reasons that you had shared, I sort of taking the moment, I'm like, okay, well, no, Darnell plays for the Oilers. If I'm the PWHL, I want to grow the market that's not yet got a franchise. If I'm the Vancouver Goldeneyes, I want to expand beyond the traditional sort of Vancouver market as best as I can. Now, I'm not suggesting Edmonton is it, but if Edmonton doesn't get a franchise, well, no, that's a market of fans I'd like to get eyeballs from. Now, where the Goldeneyes run a risk, and this is where the decision being made, I think, comes into play. It doesn't occur to me that that was necessarily a local decision. It feels to me that the league was more the ones who love that. If you are a Vancouver Goldeneyes fan who is also a Vancouver Canucks fan, you will look at that and you'll be like, not in my house. Like,
yeah, and
you've taken a
recognize that's not
rival.
everyone. I recognize there's a lot of Goldeneyes fans who do not like the Canucks, do not feel welcome maybe at the Canucks, and that's a perfectly valid position. I think, was I upset? I think that would be a strong word for it. I didn't like it, but I wasn't like
Irritated.
super mad. Irritated, I would say. But
Yeah, and I
beyond
think
that,
that's
I
a
thought
valid
it was
emotion.
just a stupid choice because
Yeah,
of like
and that's
Vancouver
where I
hockey
agree with you.
fans being who they are.
My initial opinion was like, I wouldn't have made that decision myself. But then, taking that step back, thinking, okay, because I mean, at the end of the day, let's be very frank. I am supporting the Vancouver Goldeneyes. I am supporting the Vancouver Canucks. I am a fan of both of those franchises and both of those teams. I would imagine at some point in time, the Vancouver Goldeneyes are going to do something far more drastic that I'll be upset with than 3 players wearing Oilers jerseys. But at the end of the day, I don't fault them looking to expand their market, expand their fan base. And while, the Canucks have sort of passingly supported the Goldeneyes, I'd argue that the Whitecaps, the Lions, who don't even play hockey, have embraced the Goldeneyes in this
and the
market.
rise. Yeah.
And more than the Canucks have.
Can I
and that speaks
100% clear? The Goldeneyes owe nothing to the Canucks organization at all. It's the fan base I'm thinking of, and that's
no. And I know you are, and I'm not. Please don't think I was trying to say otherwise. It's, and we've had this conversation where we've pointed out like the Canucks seem to think they're on some form of pedestal and are untouchable.
Yes.
And we're going to get into this in a moment where that might be the case. Before we do, Vancouver Goldeneyes season ticket holder email went out for renewals. How much more ish are your tickets next season?
$10 per game.
Okay, so that works out to be like 10% or 25%.
So I'm happy to share exact numbers. Like I'm open about it. Mine were gone from 25 to 35 per game.
So that's almost like a 30% increase.
It's a jump, but obviously it was a very good value before. It is interesting that my friends in the Upper Bowl have had a more their price is like over $100 more than mine per season. Obviously, that breaks down to not much per game, but they are closer to the center line, not on the center line. But I have lower bowl tickets, and to me, I think it's better value. Than Upper Bowl.
So I ask you this question because it created quite a conversation. Like people are like, whoa, you just had this type of season and you think you can charge more. And I do believe people maybe looked at the value that they received and the price of the ticket. That was an entry-level ticket. The Goldeneyes needed to price themselves in such a way to get you hooked and get you in the barn. They couldn't premium price their product from day one. Now, are they premium pricing their product for next season? I don't think they are. They are still a really good value for what you're going to be getting. But that sticker shock experience that's happening right now, I do worry can disrupt this team. It is a very fine balance of pricing your product at a value that your market will pay. So the Goldeneyes had by all accounts, a successful season from an attendance perspective. I do hope they did not potentially price themselves into an attendance problem next year.
Yeah,
but
and
they
I
have
think
some things going for them.
Yes, and I do think they're probably just on the right side of the line. But was I a bit surprised? Yeah.
And I sort of was going to say, if they did this again next season, I think that's a bigger problem. If they've not gone and sort of right priced themselves here, if they've not right priced the problem, then they're going to learn real quick that the Vancouver market is very particular with how it spends its entertainment dollars, and that is universal in the professional sports space. It is just problematic because people think it's a sports dollar. No, in Vancouver, it is an entertainment dollar. And there are many ways to spend your entertainment dollars. Speaking of season tickets, the Vancouver Canucks have increased their season ticket cost substantially in many cases. Like if we were talking about the Goldeneyes going from, one price to another, the Vancouver Canucks, like they set the bar that the Goldeneyes didn't have to worry about, breaking. But one of the problems with the Vancouver Canucks is that they have priced their product as if it's a premium within the city. They've provided a product on the ice that does not give you a sense of premium play. Yeah. And the in-game experience has been like
lacking.
I can't speak, firsthand. I've been a long time since I've been in the barn to watch a game, but it wasn't that good when I was last going. And by all accounts, it's not gotten any better.
Yeah. And by all accounts, also I would say that, and we'll jump into the story, but the big story of the week is our friend and former host of C4 and super fan of the Canucks for many years, like decades, Clay Emo, is not renewing his season tickets. And I think the product on the ice was pretty much the lowest concern in that decision. It might matter to you or I if we're considering going to a Canucks game, but I think Clay's invested more long term than that. But yeah, the experience is just not good, and I don't think they've necessarily been treated well by the organization. I don't know whether that's the season ticket agents or managers or what.
Yeah, so I've had the benefit of obviously, starting up this podcast with Clay, and we and I had chatted many times over a season ticket experience because I was always curious, how did you make it work? I mean, even, back then, Canucks season tickets were an investment. And, let's make it very clear, when Clay has his season ticket package, it's he and a friend who sort of partnered to have these seats. And one of the things that the two of them did is they sort of divvied up games equally. And then the two of them also did use the resale market to help, support that purchase. I see no problem in a season ticket holder using the resale market to put butts in seats for games they can't go to. I appreciate that there are some where that's no different than a scalper. Well, I mean, when there's 40 some odd games.
Yeah. And I understand, if there's even controls over that, you must attend in person this many games. Honestly, I would even understand that.
If there was that, Clay would have been to that many. This is not Clay and his friend scalping. No, I mean, I don't know the number here, but I would be surprised if Clay didn't go to at least 3/4 of all the games that he could go to. That would shock me if that wasn't the case. But I don't know, and I'm not trying to put words in Clay's mouth. But the fact that Clay and his friend, it's this point where the value isn't there. Now, what is value calculated by? Well, one, they were using sort of resale to support the ability to purchase a full package, knowing that there were going to be games that they couldn't go to. If the resale market craters, as it has, that's problematic. Two, what are you actually paying for? The Canucks have priced themselves as a premium product. BCAA is one of their marketing partners. I am a BCAA member. I got an email from BCAA that showed me that I could save money buying Canucks tickets. And as these marketing emails do, they go and they give you the potential savings that you could get to try and reinforce the membership. It said you could save $400? No, you could save $200 on tickets for a family of 4. And I'm like, wow, that's a really good deal. They estimated that the family of 4 was spending $1,000.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, ain't no way I'm spending more money for me, my wife, and my daughter to go to one Canucks game than I am spending almost for the entirety of 2 seats at a Whitecaps season.
Yeah,
Like the value just doesn't match up at all.
and I do get where like season ticket members come from when they're on the resale market, but I also think that they need to get a clue when they're reselling their tickets. I know that Ticketmaster probably does control
Part of the problem is
prices,
Ticketmaster.
but
You can't
yeah, and
when I try
Ticketmaster's
to resell
evil.
my Whitecaps tickets. Yeah, when I try to resell my Whitecaps tickets, Ticketmaster says here's the price, and they're going to take Ticketmaster's going to take their cut. And the problem is that I can't price my if I wanted to I just want to button the seat. I just want to break even.
Yeah,
Functionally, I cannot do that.
but yeah, I agree
either
with
take
that.
a loss
Yeah,
if Ticketmaster lets me, or I have to price it so it looks like I'm premium pricing my seat because Ticketmaster wants to get paid again.
but even the other less reputable but still functional sites, like obviously I haven't been to a Canucks game all year. Usually I go to at least a handful with Last Riders. The couple opportunities where I wasn't able to take that up. So I decided maybe I'll just buy some games last weekend, like last minute. Grab some tickets. They're going to be super cheap. Canucks are already locked up 32nd in the league here. No.
Well, no, and
Like,
these are I
and
genuinely
these are
think
like
many of the people
$80 terrible seat tickets, and you just think,
the people who are reselling, they're trying to price a ticket at what demand used to be.
yeah, and you
And
just
those
think
who
if
come to
it's
the
an hour before the
realization,
game, maybe rethink that.
yeah,
Anyway,
I look at Clay, and I mean I use him as a microcosm of where the Canucks are. I recall when the Canucks ticket was the easiest one to get, and it was in the 2000s. They weren't really a good team, and then suddenly they got hot, and the prices started to go up. It's actually what priced my dad out of the ice pack that we used to have when the Canucks used to actually offer was it I think a 10 game or something ice pack. And my buddy Mike at the time, he won a contest, and it ultimately resulted in him getting a trip for 2 to Montreal to watch the Canucks play in Montreal. And Mike graciously offered me that second seat. So he and I were in the Bell Center. We go watch the game. The Canucks ended up winning. It was pretty cool. We went back to the hotel, and we're in the hotel bar. And someone comes up to us and says, "Hey, are you Canucks fans? You from Vancouver?" We're like, "Yeah." And we don't tell them, Mike won a trip. They didn't come out. Just we're Canucks fans, and we're from Vancouver. So, "Oh yeah, why are you here?" And I'm like, I casual, I'm like, because it's actually easier to get a ticket in Montreal to watch the Canucks play than it is Vancouver right now.
yeah,
Now, I didn't know that was actually a guy for a Canucks staffer that was coming in and, interacting with us. But that was true. Going to the Bell Center to get a ticket was possible. The pricing was at a place. And that's when the Canucks saw that they could start premium pricing the product. Eventually, those ice packs went away. The wait list that was 3 seasons long, that doesn't exist anymore. And now you have a fan like Clay, who for those who Clay Huclemo, his handle online is Canuck Clay. Canuck Clay was doing Canucks content before C4, and he'll be doing Canucks content for a long time coming.
yeah.
How important is he as a fan? The moment word comes out that he's no longer renewing his season tickets, the BC Lions, the Vancouver Whitecaps, the Vancouver Canadians, every sports franchise in this market knows who Clay is and starts explaining to him. And I mean, they might be sliding into his DMs too, for all I know, saying, "Hey, come support us," because they know the power of a super fan like Clay. The Vancouver Canucks, they wouldn't do that. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't know if they ever have. And that was back in the day when they were actually, reaching out to the likes of me. They never, embraced me. It was the relationship that I made with the few people that were in the organization at the time who have now gone on to bigger and better things, but they were never the team. They understood it. And those, unfortunately, days are long gone. Anywho, I do worry that the Vancouver Canucks are going to run into a problem where they will actually have an empty barn. Because again, Vancouver sports fans take those entertainment dollars and spread them around. The Vancouver Whitecaps had 25,000 out for their game this weekend. Now, that's lower bowl, and people will say BC Place still has all those curtains and the upper bowl's empty.
Yeah, because it's a giant stadium.
It is. 50 some odd thousand people could fit into that thing in a setup for soccer. But this is the thing that the Whitecaps are doing, is they're going to, generate scarcity before they look to open up the upper deck, presuming they stay in Vancouver beyond this season, which is kind of sucky that that's a possibility. But did these people just suddenly show up out of nowhere? No. I think the Whitecaps have done a really good job at capitalizing on the vibe of the team from last year, the vibe of the team this season, marketing themselves as an accessible ticket, making the experience one that people want to be part of. And that, Vancouver Canucks team that is stinking up the barn next door, you got a choice between the two. Which one might you go to?
Yeah, and obviously, we've talked about the Canadians, we talked about them a couple of weeks ago. Their product is, creating a fun experience, but one, it's fun, it's accessible, and Canucks have not historically been fun or accessible. There's plenty of small hockey markets with bad teams, right? That just do a better job. Literally the Florida Panthers, less 5-6 years ago were giving away free tickets if Panthers scored 2 goals or something like that. It was an empty bar.
Canucks, it is many years since, but the Vancouver Canucks used to paper their barn. And if you don't know the term, it essentially means give away a lot of free tickets. The Vancouver Canucks used to paper. It's just, I think this ownership group has only ever known the good times.
Yeah,
and they have shown us that they don't have an appetite for the bad. So I don't know.
Yeah, but even looking at their own team, the lacrosse game, right? It knows what it is.
And it's one of Ariel's friends was.
They literally papered the barn for at least 2 years. I got so many free tickets to the lacrosse.
One of my daughter's friends was going to the game for the first, Vancouver. What's the team name now?
Warriors
game for the first time. And her mom was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to something." I'm like, "Oh, it's a good experience." She's like, "Oh, you've gone?" I'm like, "Yeah, I had an opportunity to go a couple seasons back. It's a cool experience. They've got a band playing, DJ. It's just a party atmosphere. It's upbeat. It's high tempo. There's music. That's the lacrosse experience." But they know that they need to make it a place to be. And by the way, there's a lacrosse game happening.
Yeah.
Hockey in Canada has never had to go and market itself as the place to be. And oh, by the way, there's a hockey game. People came to the hockey. But now with things as they are, the money doesn't stretch as far as it used to. You are making a dedicated investment. And if what you're providing isn't a good experience on the ice, the only thing you have left is everything else. And if it feels like it's just nonstop advertisements, why am I having to pay you for the experience to market to me? I'm going to take that money elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
and it not be into the Dome or the Coliseum or to Nat Bailey. It could be elsewhere.
Yeah, like you say, entertainment dollars. But I don't think my idea of a good time is watching Canucks get shut out on home ice for $100, paying $25 for a beer, and having a man who's probably high on cocaine drum in my face. Who am I talking about? Who's to say?
We're not. I mean, it could have been any guy wearing a jersey that's 2 years old.
Could be anyone wearing a single Michael Jackson glove. Could be anyone.
Mm. Got to keep that hand soft. You don't want to get those calluses on it. As we look to wrap up this week's episode, just a couple of notes. The Vancouver Canucks are fast approaching an end to their regular season. The Goldeneyes are likely reaching the end of their regular season, and that will be that. What does that mean? So we'll be back next week, and then we'll probably be back the week after that because we'll want to wrap up the seasons appropriately, and the Goldeneyes have a couple more games beyond the Canucks. Once the regular seasons are complete, we are then going to transition into an off-season schedule, the one that you've become accustomed to hearing from Ann and I, a new episode every 2 weeks. But unlike those past seasons, in the full summer, we're talking July and August, you'll have an episode a month. Now, you might be wondering, well, why are we changing this all of a sudden? Well, back when C4 launched, and for the longest time, once July 1st rolled around, we were off. We didn't come back until September. And in fact, prior to July 1st, there might have been an episode a month once the season was over. Like if there was no Vancouver Canucks playoff hockey, there was no podcast. And so that allowed, myself and the co-host at the time, including Anna, when she joined us, what we did, the opportunity to recharge, is this what we want to do, and continue talking about it and all that jazz. So in short, we're going to have a couple more episodes regularly week after week, and then into the bi-weekly every, second week. And then once the, off season hits, there'll be an episode in July, an episode in August. And unless the PWHL season or the NHL season starts early, you would look for us to get back into the bi-weekly rhythm in September, and then into the regular sort of weekly broadcasting cadence come October. Yep. So I just want to share that. Now we'll talk about it again in the next couple of weeks too, just to remind everyone. But don't be alarmed if suddenly there's no C4. We haven't gone anywhere. I've made it very clear we are the best mediocre, longest running podcast. And now that we're the longest running, I feel like we can't stop.
Yeah, we're like a weird stain on the wall. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no matter how many times you try to throw a cone of paint on it, we're just going to come through.
Yep.
Anna, any final words of wisdom?
Not that any of them are listening, but I want to shout out my netball team. Block it like it's hot. Obviously, great name.
First of all, great name. Second of all, why are they not listening?
Yeah, I know it is shocking. Most of them call it ice hockey. Unfortunately, still.
That's okay. I mean,
we're a broad church.
Mom.
Yeah. She calls it slippery cricket half the time.
Yeah, I love that name. We've talked about how I love it. I should call it slippery cricket. But the point is, they should be listening to support you, Anna.
Yeah, they should. But yeah,
can you tell them that I'm disappointed?
Okay, sure, I will. But yeah, we had our third place playoff game today, and we played a great game of netball, and we won. So I've been with the team for 2 seasons. We've come third both times, and the team is actually on a run of 4 seasons, and with a bronze medal. So we are nothing if not consistent.
Cool. Well, congratulations on being nothing but consistent and a bronze medalists. Yeah. Final words of wisdom from me is don't presume that your daughter's softball team, who last year were the Pink Puppies, would want to remain to be the Pink Puppies a second go around. No, they have all grown up. They're much fiercer. They are now the Pink Predators. And that's their choice.
Are the Predators in our area? And in our neighborhoods?
They could be. It was, and they were serious. Like, oh, we're like lions and tigers and panthers, and like, oh, I want to be the Pink Panthers. No, Pink Predator. Like they want to be the Predators, and so me and 2 other guys who were coaches were like,
team, it's good enough for
them. True,
I think,
but we're like,
I think it's fine.
Hey, go for it. So if you happen to be in the area and you hear a team called the Pink Predators playing, it could be my daughter's team. So yeah, never assume that the Pink Puppies will remain the puppies. And by the way, they spelled it, YS, not IES.
Yes, I remember.
Because, yeah. Oh, they got Predators cool. Right. In fairness, I think Mom might have helped them with the spelling. If you've reached this point of the show and you want to help fund things like providing us beer money, Anna's mom provided Anna beer money, but Anna's mom didn't provide Chris beer money.
Buy you a beer.
I'm not. You don't have to say that. Guaranteed. Okay. Hi, Anna's mom. I'm not asking you to send me beer money. Let's make this very clear.
Because she would.
No, I know. Now that I'm thinking this back, just if you listen to that, please forget of it. You can support the show financially by going to buymeacoffee.com/C4podcast. Buy Me a Coffee, otherwise known as
Buy me a pint.
And you can do that in a one-off gesture. One-off gestures where you throw a few bucks our way goes directly into the pint fund. And if you happen to love us that much that you're going to go and support us on a regular basis, either monthly, $5 a month, or yearly, $50 for the year, that money goes into the keep the lights on for the podcast fund. Helps us pay for things like hosting, the domain, all that jazz. It does add up to a few $100 every year that Anna and I pony up to pay. So what you can do to provide to support us just helps us balance those bills out. We're easily bought. I'm just going to put out there, if there's some like big brand that wants to offer some, $1 million a year, I mean, Anna and I probably wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
And I do have a recording of Mana doing a host read for Manscaped. So like we have, no line we won't cross.
Like emotional blackmail Chris is holding out over our friendship.
I know, but so our listeners may or may not know this. We were with a network that had ad insertions, and there were host read ads. Manscaped was one of them, and Anna and I talked about it, and we thought it would be funny if Anna did the read. That ad never got inserted. I don't know if it was that it was Anna reading it or what. But yeah.
Yeah.
She did a stellar job.
On a somewhat serious note, unless you're a gambling company, we'll probably...
Yeah.
Or like a weapons manufacturer. Those are all...
Yeah. I guess there are lines. You're right. I would not...
But Manscaped isn't one of them. We'd happily do it again.
And Anna might even do the host read. If you want to find us online, we're c4podcast.com on all the social medias. We're at the C4 Podcast on X, the real C4 Podcast on Threads, and c4podcast.com on Blue Sky. Anna, she's A4Say03 everywhere, and I'm Lightforce pretty much everywhere else. On behalf of Anna, Craig, and me, Chris, we out.